Well, good morning. How are you all today? Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. Total systems collapse. That's what I want to talk about today, and that's really what you ought to be thinking about as opposed to little individual problems that may pop up. Interestingly, when I got up this morning, I went through my list of things, checking different YouTubes and the news and things like that. And Victor Davis Hanson, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with, brilliant guy, love listening to him. He had a video up that was entitled just that, and it was a great video. I'll post it up when I put this one on on the Patreon channel. I'll post a link to that so you can watch it. But that's what he was talking about. We live in a complex society, and the more complex a society, the more susceptible it is to total systems failure or collapse. So I'm going to talk about that. Before we get to that, because we're going to talk about a lot today, grab yourself something to drink, something to sip on, cup of coffee or cocoa or tea or whatever you drink. Hopefully out of a Stonemont mug, because everything tastes better out of these. And this is a reminder that our second annual gathering, Stonemont Integrative Preparedness Gathering, is coming up in just a little bit more than a week. October 4th, 2025 in Olathe, Kansas. That's on the Kansas side of the Kansas City area. If you haven't registered for it yet and you want to come, you better get on it. Come to our website, stonemont.us. And you'll see the tabs up there, shop, books, blah, blah, blah. And go to the events tab, hit that. It'll take you to where it'll give you all the information, and you can register. It doesn't cost you a thing, except the gas that it takes you to get here, because Stonemont is picking up all the tab, buying everything. We have a bunch of people, though, coming who are bringing a lot of stuff. A bunch of our Stonemonters, mainly our people from over on the Patreon side. Hondo Bob's bringing some cool stuff. Triple G said he's sending some stuff up from Texas. A bunch of Mark Merrill is bringing some. He does freeze-dried survival food. He's bringing some stuff. Parker Kelly's coming up from Texas with her husband, bringing her books. She's going to talk a little bit about her books, and then of course Stonemont will throw in some stuff for for raffles too. It's going to be a great day. So anyway, it's in Olathe, Kansas. That's the Kansas side of the Kansas City area. If you're coming from out of town, I think I forgot to say, you do need to register, because because Stonemont's buying everything, but we need to know how many people are going to be there so we know how much to buy. Okay, and if you're coming in from out of town, make sure that you book your rooms on the Kansas side, either Leawood, Overland Park, Olathe, or Lenexa, Kansas. Stay out of Missouri. Missouri's a beautiful state and a great state, and I love it, but not up here. You go into the Missouri side over here, and you're going into Kansas City, and that's not some place that someone from out of town wants to be. Let me take a sip, and locally, what they call it, Killa City. And that's a good example of why it matters where you live, because over on the Kansas side, it's just like a little slice of heaven. So go register for that. While we're on talking about Stonemont, if you haven't read it, like I said, Stonemont is picking up the tab for everything at this gathering, and that's because if you haven't read them and you are interested in preparedness or just love a good post-apocalyptic story, and you haven't read the Stonemont series, I would suggest this be the very next thing you do, is to read these. These are the total plan for preparing for surviving and rebuilding after a total collapse of everything. Yes, I wrote them. That's right. That's what I do. I'm a writer, among other things. But but yes, first one came out in 2017, the Reversion, followed by the Revival, the Renewal, an Appeal to Heaven, the Blessings of Freedom, Hostages to Fortune, and On Wings Like Eagles. And you will learn more out of these than you can imagine. You won't even know how much you're learning, because you'll be so caught up in the story. You can get them a couple of different ways. You can either get them through Amazon, and that link is down below, or you can get them a much better way, the way that I like you to get them, and that's from me directly through our website, stonemont.us. That link is also down below, and when you do it that way, I sign each one for you, and I write a note in each one for you, and I love it because I see your name come across, and I feel like I have a relationship with you. So that link is down below. You can also, on the Stonemont side, you can buy the whole set. You can't do that on Amazon. You can buy the whole set, and you will want the whole set. You know, people buy the first one, and then they love it so much they buy the whole set. And you'll save money when you buy the whole set, because we save money when we ship them that way, and such as that. And when you do the whole set on the on the website, then I toss in the Stonemont notebook, which is a great resource for you to write down all your questions, your list, your thoughts, your everything. So do that. Let that be the very next thing you do. It'll change your preparedness stance. Okay, interestingly enough, this morning when I was reading, or actually I was reading last night, but when I saw Victor Davis Hanson's video about total systems collapse, it brought me back to what I was reading last night, and that was a fantastic new book from my buddy. Don't worry, this isn't all about books. We're going to get to it in just a second, but I want to read you this from my buddy Mike Morton. Mike is a very experienced guy. Lives down in Colombia, and he just sent me a copy of his latest book, Demographic Conquest. I've talked about this a little bit, but I'll tell you what, after you order my books, you ought to order this one. This is an amazing book. He also sent me this morning, he is a man of many talents. He's written a couple of songs that are just great. He sent me one this morning. I woke up this morning to a voice message from him. That's cool, right? He lives down in Colombia, South America, and he can send me these voices. Don't we live in an amazing time? And his second great song, I'll share that with you all as soon as maybe in the next couple of days. Okay, he wrote one about Charlie Kirk that is the best Charlie Kirk song I've heard. But anyway, his book, Demographic Conquest, I've warned you about, and I write about them in my books. I talk about the Muslim incursions. I write about the Somali warlord coming down out of Minnesota, trying to take over, enslaving all the people, and trying to take over and establish a new caliphate in post-collapse America. I talk about the rise of the cartels and the Reconquista into a new Aztlan in the Southwest. I talk about all these things, but interestingly enough, I want to read you just a couple of paragraphs from the prologue in his book, and you need to get this book. I'm sure it's on Amazon. Michael Morton, okay? Demographic Conquest. So the first one, he says, wars, now listen, wars are no longer declared. They are waged quietly in boardrooms, in mosques, in server farms, and along borders where governments pretend to be in control. Empires don't collapse from a single invasion anymore. They rot from within. Tell me that's not what happened to our country. Fractured by demographics, corroded by cartels, infiltrated by networks that do not fly flags, and undermined by corporations that answer to no one. The battlefield, listen up, the battlefield is everywhere. The enemy wears no uniform, and the siege is already underway. Now I'm going to skip over to the next page because there is another. Well, every paragraph in this is amazing. I look at this book like I do Atlas Shrugged. Y'all read Atlas Shrugged? I read it years ago. I consider it not a book but a life experience. And there is so much contained. Ayn Rand was such a mind that I read it. I would go to bed and I'd say, okay, I'm gonna read for an hour, okay, and I would read a paragraph, take me 5 minutes, and I would have to stop because there was so much in there that I just wanted to think about it and let it really infiltrate me. Okay, same with this book. So I'm gonna read you Another paragraph here. The cartels rule their empire in blood. Now we're going to down south. Mexico is not a state. It is a battlefield where the flag is a formality and the real power rolls in convoys of gunmen. Guys, it's coming across our border. It's in your town. The reach of the cartels, I don't care where you live. If you have fentanyl in your town, you have the fingerprint of the cartels in your town, and I don't think there's any of you out there that we don't have some fentanyl in your town. Okay. They feed America's veins with fentanyl, launder billions through the very banks meant to stop them, and stretch their reach into every U.S. city. What did I just say? Every, not just city, small town. I know, people don't want to think of it, but it's true. They don't want to conquer territory. That's right. They want markets. And America is the largest market in history, already conquered without a shot fired. Demographic Conquest, Michael Morton. Buy it. Learn from it. Okay, so that brings us back after my next slurp. I haven't offended anybody. Well, I've probably offended somebody every day, but not with my slurps for a while. So let me do that occasionally. For those of you who don't know, for new people, I will occasionally get some asshat come on and say, "You're slurping your coffee just drives me nuts. That's just horrible, just terrible." So let me get one, and then we'll continue. That's okay. And then you're gulping. I made myself cough trying to maximize that. Took some down the wrong pipe. Okay, so total system failures. As Victor Davis Hansen says, and as Mike started talking about there, our society has become so complex that just the minor interruptions in one area will have rippling effects in others. And the complexity of those different systems are themselves so complex that it's almost inevitable that there will be problems in each of those. Okay, and so when you have a complex system of complex systems relying on one another to keep everything running smoothly, well, what chance do we have of everything running smoothly? We don't, and this is what we're seeing. We're seeing a collapse, a slow collapse of the total system of our society. Have been for a while, and a lot of that has to do with a collapse of the morals and the virtues on which this country was based. You know that, but we've allowed too much of the cancer to grow, and it's going to have to be taken out. And because of the complexity of that, we have to see it as the system that it is, and we have to prepare ourselves in such a way that we are prepared to deal with whatever comes, right? And the way we do that is simply to increase our self-reliance. Now, too many people in the prepper world get consumed with one or two little things. Okay, I watched a video today because I'm still amazed at all these negative channels that come out and say nobody can afford anything. Nobody can afford anything. Well, I've told you what to do with that. Okay, I've said what to do with that, and it makes people mad. People get mad at me because I say this. I say make more money. Make more money. You know why they get mad? It's because they don't want to have to make more money. They want to be able to continue going along their lives as it always has been. They want the price of Spam and Beanie Weenie to stay the same so that they won't have to work harder or get better. See, a lot of it's not working harder, it's getting better. And I mean, that is the essence of the American spirit. Getting better, improving, all the time improving. And so I just get sick of hearing all this. Nobody can afford anything. Well, of course, that's a hyperbolic statement. That's a ridiculous statement. I mean, people are buying stuff all the time. Nobody can afford a house. People are buying houses all the time. Nobody can afford a car. People are buying cars all the time. So where does this ridiculous, where do these ridiculous statements come from? Well, they come from somebody that wants to appeal to the very lowest level, those who are not doing well. And I'm sorry that they're not, well, I'm not sorry because it's not my fault. But if somebody's not doing well, it doesn't help them to placate them and stroke their excuses that, oh, poor you, you can't get ahead, you can't do this, you can't do that. And the real help comes from, hey, get up, do better, do more, improve yourself, learn more, develop more skills. But so going back to this, nobody can do and buy anything. And somebody said, I don't remember, when I talk about these things, I'm not talking about, well, I'm not going to mention channels. And I don't even remember what channel this was on, but it doesn't matter because it goes across so many of them. Somebody said, you can't even raise a family on minimum wage anymore. Well, you were never supposed to raise a family on minimum wage. Minimum wage is an entry level for kids. And anybody who's out there thinking that you ought to be able to raise a family of 4 on a minimum wage, I mean, go get help. Really, I know Uncle Steve's getting off the rail here a little bit, but I just get so I don't know what the right, disgusted, maybe a little harsh, I don't know. But man, I mean, people are holding themselves back and complaining about it. And then other people say, oh, poor you. No, I don't say poor you. I say get up and do better. Don't get bitter, get better. And there's a way to do it. Like I say, improve your, and learn more, improve your skills, improve your knowledge. If a person wants to stay exactly where they are and think that the world's going to leave them, the world's going to pass them by. They don't want to live in a dynamic world, which the world has always been dynamic. They just want everything to stay the same. And that ain't the world. And that's not preparedness. Okay. So anyway, I heard the statement on some channel this morning. It doesn't matter. I'm not even going to try to remember what, because it's not about the channel. It's about the statement. And they said, nobody can afford to buy anything, so buy gold. I mean, come on, put those two together. You can't afford to buy anything, but buy gold. Okay, let's jump off of that for just a second, because my whole point was there. Don't let negative people hold you back. Okay, and understand, and while you break loose of this matrix, and that's what it is, this negative matrix, understanding how complex the world is, you have to improve yourself so that you can deal with it. Right? We live in an uncertain world, and preparedness is about preparing ourselves so that no matter what happens, catastrophe, a total systems collapse, we're going to continue to live well through it and after it. In the first book of the Stonewall series, which is the reversion here, Jim Wyatt says, he's the main character, it says Jim Wyatt always said that if everything fell apart, he didn't want to just survive, he didn't want to notice. Okay? The negative people will say, well, that's impossible. And yet, why is it that I know many people who have arrived and achieved that position? How much a catastrophe, a collapse, affects you depends entirely on how prepared you are. How prepared you are depends entirely on how much you have done to prepare yourself for that, which means a recognition of what could happen, right? A recognition of what could happen, not how good your go bag is so that you can run out into the woods and live in a brush pile for the rest of your life, but an understanding of how complex the world is and how you need to be able to understand it well enough so that you can mitigate whatever problems come your way. So that when a system collapses or a complete system collapse occurs, you've prepared yourself for it. Okay, it collapsed. Here I am. That's the story of Stonemont. That's the story in the Stonemont series. I wrote it because there were already a bunch of negative books out there who really weren't giving any solutions. They were talking about all the horrible things, and I thought, well, okay, I mean, that's good. And I talk about the horrible things in the Stonemont series. Well, that's fine, but like they will say, you know, complaining without offering a solution is just complaining. And that's not what preparedness is supposed to be. So that's what the Stonemont series is. It's talking about, yeah, here are the problems, now here were the solutions. And like we say every time we sign off, we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. But if we can't prepare well today if we don't have an understanding of what could happen. Okay. So what could happen? Well, we could get into a world war. We could, like I talked about yesterday, we have the internal wars already starting. We have radical Islam growing and non-radical Islam growing, which is going to overtake us. This is what Mike was all talking about. Demographic conquest. They are going to conquer us as a result of them having more kids than we do. Okay, and although most Muslims are probably, you know, fine people, they're going to vote for the Muslim candidates who get into our government. And have you seen the ones that are in our government? And they want Sharia law, so that's one thing. The other thing, of course, is the problem of drugs in the United States. It is just destroyed entire generations. The lack of, the collapse of family and traditional values has destroyed an entire segment of our society and our country. And so we're left with essentially a remnant of people who still believe in those core traditional values. You, me, others that we know, right? So this is why I say in the Stonemont series, how to prepare for, how to survive, and then how to rebuild after a total collapse of everything. And you're going to have to. I mean, you know, people say, well, what should we do? Well, I've written 7 books on what to do about it. I can't encapsulate that into a 30-minute video. Okay, you need to be self-sufficient. You need to be self-reliant. You need to not only have food stores, but be able to produce your own food. Now, many of you live in the suburbs of the city, so I can't have cows in my backyard. That doesn't matter. Or I can't have a whole farm in my backyard. It doesn't matter. Have you developed the skills to be able to do so if you need to? Okay, that's why I live in the suburbs. I have a garden. That's why I garden, just to keep it. Gardening is a skill set. So if I need to increase it, I can increase it like that. Okay, if something happens. In the second chapter, I think the second chapter of the reversion, the first one. It shows Jim Wyatt, the main character. He's out tilling up another couple acres because he knows what's happened, and now he's going to increase his production of foods. Okay, so are your skills where they need to be? Do you know that it doesn't mean you have to be a farmer now? Doesn't mean you have to be a rancher. You know a little bit about it. Okay, can you do it if you have to? Do you have a plan as to where to go to do it if you need to, or a plan to stay where you are if that's the best option? In some ways it can be. In some ways it can be, not in all ways. So, you know, one answer doesn't answer all possibilities. That's the other thing. You need to take a look at what your situation is, what your skills are, what your knowledge base are, and determine where you need to improve this. Because, as Victor Davis Hanson said, the complexity of our society has grown to the point to where it's almost inevitable that there will be glitches in each system. And when those systems and their glitches compile and compound, now we have a real problem. And they are. They are. You see it all around you, right? So think about that. Don't look to a YouTube channel for all the answers. And that's not, I don't try to give all the answers here. I mean, basic, intermediate, advanced preparedness, that's your answer. But you have to really delve into what the challenges are, and then what you need to do to be able to address those challenges, right? Okay, well, I think that we're going to experience an increasing number of system failures. I don't think it's all going to come at one time unless we get hit by a CME or unless an enemy, shuts down our grid. And then it's Katie bar the door, right? I hope you're prepared for that, because if you're not, time for preparation is over. So I would suggest that you get going. If you're not where you need to be, do what you can to get there. But I think we're going to continue to see systemic failures across the board through all the systems of society. It's going to make things increasingly difficult, and it's going to become more difficult for those who are not prepared and have not prepared. Okay, but don't be fooled by these people. The first thing to do is to address it positively. Have a positive attitude. Have a can-do attitude. The old saying that the difference between success and failure is that success comes from a strong will and failure from a strong won't. So don't be held back by these negative ninnies who are telling you that nobody can afford to buy anything but buy gold. Okay, come on. Get out there and do it right. Take responsibility for your own life and build the life you want. In the second book, The Revival, Jim Wyatt is given a talk at a Thanksgiving dinner. And he says, at the end of it, he says, we must build the world we want our children to live in. And that's what you need to do. That's what preparedness is. Are you building the world, the life you want your children to live in? That's what preparedness is all about. Okay. Before I let you go, remember, get Mike's book. You're going to love it. You're going to learn from it. It's going to make you think. Michael Morton, Demographic Conquest. And then, another reminder, if you want the whole thing, you want the whole answer in a great story, the Stonemont series, through Amazon or through my website, stonemont.us. And then I sign them for you, write a note on each one. You will love the story, and you will learn more than you can imagine. I've had people tell me they've read through the whole series 5 times and are still learning things that they missed the first 4 times through because they were so caught up in the story. So, stonemont.us. And if you're coming to the we have a lot going on here. I know. For the people that say, you just talk about this and that, and that's because we've got a lot going on. If you're complaining about that, you probably need to get more going on in your life. Okay? So a reminder that the upcoming gathering, October 4th, Olathe, Kansas. If you haven't registered, get on it. We need to know that you're coming, so we have all the burgers and dogs and buns and stuff like that, and beans and all that stuff for you. So you won't be left out with an empty paper plate, right? Okay. You all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And no matter what systems crash and collapse, don't let it collapse on you. Okay? All right. Have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.